Maze Runner: The Death Cure is finally in theaters, which gives us a chance to go ahead and talk about this epic trilogy of the young adult film movies. Hi, I'm Awesome Joe, and thank you very much for having to tune in to one of my videos for playback to back. And this time we're going to be talking about all three of the Maze Runner films directed by Wes Ball and of course the star Dylan O'Brien. We're going to be talking about the first Maze Runner movie, and then we're going to be talking about the second film, The Scorch Trials, and of course the all-time awaited movie that's now in theaters, The Death Cure. So let's go ahead and get started here, guys, and let's talk about Maze Runner. So Maze Runner, like I said, is directed by Wes Ball, and it's it's starring Dylan O'Brien, and then we also have Kea Scodelario, Thomas Brody Sangster, Ki Hong Lee, Will Poulter, and Patricia Clarkson. And there's some names in there that I have a very difficult time having to pronounce, but hopefully I got them right here. But let me go ahead and get started to say that I really did enjoy this movie. I thought that this was going to be a film that I was not going to enjoy at all whatsoever, because when this movie was first released, there's been like an era of genres for the young adult films. You know, we had Twilight, then we had the Hunger Games and the Divergent series, and now we have the Maze Runner. So it got me questioning whether or not if I was going to enjoy this new franchise or not. So luckily, when I first saw this film, I was amazed by it. I am amazed by it. And I could not believe what I was watching. It was such a great film. I had a lot of fun with this movie. And there's another thing that I would like to mention about this film is that this is a first film to a trilogy, and it's based off of the books. And this one is going to have a lot of questions, because you start off with Dylan O'Brien's character named Thomas, but at the time of the beginning of the movie, he doesn't know who he is. He doesn't know anything about himself. His mind is pretty much all wiped out, and it just brings you a lot of questions as to what's going on, where are they at, why is this happening? So many questions going on. So it gets you entertained. It gets you curious throughout the whole entire film as to wondering what's going to happen next. What's going to happen to these characters? And you actually grow into having to be very connected to these characters. You know, and quite normally you don't really get those in these types of films, but this one you get to understand what every single character in this film is going through and why they behave the way they behave. And one of my favorites about all these movies is the music the music that's by John Pesciano. At the ending of every one of these films, they have the maze theme that pops up, and that theme is so epic. It drew me even more into wanting to see what's gonna happen next. I mean, it got me entertained, it got me excited, it got me pumped and ready for the next film. And I love the ending to this movie. It just bubbles you up so much to wanting more, and I love that about a film. I love it when I walk into a movie and I don't know what I'm expecting, and then after the ending of it all, I want more. This is a great movie for me. I really did enjoy this film, and I really do wish that there would be a lot of other films that could learn from this franchise to become better adapted into making better films. But unlike, for my opinion, on Rotten Tomatoes, they gave it a 65%, which is an okay rating. But for me, since I enjoyed this film a lot, before having to view that this was 65%, I actually gave it a 73%. To which like I said, I enjoyed this movie so much. It's such an awesome film. It's a great first chapter to this great trilogy. I wish we could get more after this trilogy is over with, but like I said, it's based off of the books, so if there was more books, then there could be more films. But otherwise, this is such a great franchise. This is one of my personal favorites. Not as great as like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings, but it is an awesome trilogy franchise film that I admire very much. And can always want more. So that's my review for Maze Runner. Let's go ahead and jump on to the second film of this epic franchise. So up next is the Scorch Trials. So spoiler alert, if you guys have not watched this franchise, I'm letting you guys know, giving you a heads up. I mean, it's quite obvious having to walking into the second film of this trilogy that these characters do escape the maze. And once when they escape the maze, they are introduced into this bigger world, a bigger unfamiliar world that is pretty much described at the ending of the film that it is a world that is, pretty much under an apocalypse, to where the flare set a scorch onto the earth that set out a virus called the flare, and is infecting billions of people around the world, becoming like these zombie type of creatures. And so the whole main purpose of this whole thing is that these group of characters, these kids, are set onto like tests to see what these scientists can find to develop a cure for this virus. So that's pretty much what the whole thing is all based off of. They don't really very much explain it in the first movie, other than at the ending of the film. But it becomes more explanatory into the second film, The Scorch Trials. And we get the whole returning cast from the first film back into this movie, plus some new characters, since they are entering into this larger world to where they're not really much inside a closed area anymore, just for some several minor introductions. So this one we have, I don't know if you remember him. If you ever seen the TV show Breaking Bad, you got Giancarlo Esposito. I'm very bad at pronunciations. And then we got Aidan Gillen, Barry Pepper, Rosa Salazar, and Lily Taylor. Like I said, I'm very bad at pronunciation, so I apologize if I made any mistakes on these names. If I did, you can always get after me for it, and I'll do my very best the next time to pronounce these names. But this one is a little bit more interesting to me because as much as I enjoyed the first Maze Runner film, I had a lot more of an entertaining blast with the second one. I know that the second one is not very much the favorite of the whole trilogy, but to me, I really did enjoy this one a lot. Now, the only thing that I do not like is the fact that the whole franchise is called The Maze Runner, and I'm thinking that entitlement has no purpose in this second film. I know it's the entitlement of the first film, which gives it purpose, but I don't really see it being the further title for the rest of the films. It could be simply just called The Scorch Trials, but of course many people would not understand the fact that this film is within the Maze Runner franchise. So I understand the whole purpose of using the entitlement, but I feel like that they should have come up with a more original name for the franchise, just to give it a more better understanding. But otherwise, I mean, it's such an awesome film. I had a lot more fun with this one than I did with the first one. I just look at it as much more entertaining, more epic, just more awesome in my book. And on Rotten Tomatoes, they like I said, this isn't the most people's favorite chapter of the whole trilogy, so they gave it a 46%. And I can see where they're coming from with that rating, but on my page, I don't really look at it that way. I actually picked it up more than my ratings towards the first Maze Runner film, which is a 78%. So I really did, like I said, I really did enjoy this film. Is it the best film of all time? No, it's not. But to me, I feel like it is my favorite of the whole trilogy. So that's my ratings for it. I really did have an amazing time with the second film. If you guys have not watched any of these films, I recommend you guys go ahead and watch them because it is an excellent franchise to watch. It's very entertaining. In my personal opinion, I don't feel like you'll be let down by this franchise. It's really great movies. They really are. So I mean, you can always find these movies on either Amazon or go to Walmart. They always have these movies available for you guys to rent, or I'm pretty sure you guys are into doing digital films online, so you guys can do the same thing with that as well. So let's go ahead and jump on to the final movie of this great trilogy that I love to talk to you guys about today. So The Maze Runner, The Death Cure, the final chapter to this epic trilogy that myself personally is a great trilogy of that I say so per se. And of course we got the returning director Wes Ball into this, and then we got the original cast coming back. This movie took a little while for this movie to be made because they did have several complications having to put this film into production. Ever since after the second film wasn't a great success to most viewers. And then we also had this little incident with Dylan O'Brien getting into an accident while making the film. And there's this train sequence, and I'm believing that that's where it happened because from what I was told, he does the majority of the stunts in this film. So he's like pretty much the next Tom Cruise here. And yeah, so he got injured, and they had to get off production for a little while so that he can heal and get himself back on track. So it took a little while than anticipated, but they got this film finally out into theaters. When I first saw the trailer, to be honest with you, I wasn't too excited because it's been a while. But there was some excitement in me having to wanting to see this, just to return back to this franchise and to see what happens next because I love the ending to the Scorch Trials. It got me even more excited to seeing what would happen next compared to the ending of the first Maze Runner movie. I just love on how these films continue to be concluded with like what's gonna happen next. It just gets me so excited when they leave you questioning for wanting more. So this one, it takes place immediately after the second film. And it starts off with that train sequence because what they're trying to do is and again, spoiler alert here, at the ending of the Scorch Trials, there's a character named Miho is kidnapped, and he's one of the main characters who's kidnapped by Wicked, and now our main characters are going out trying to find him and rescue him along with many other kids who were abducted by this society, and because they're doing testings on them to find that death cure. And one of the characters, again, spoiler alert here, one of the main characters, played by Kea Scodelario, who is the character Teresa. She betrays all of them, and now she's on the bad guy side and trying to find the cure for her own good purposes. And her character became much more interesting, even though she turned to being a bad guy. And she's one of those bad guys to where you couldn't actually call them a bad guy per se. They're just people who are trying to do things in a certain way, which is in a bad direction. But this movie, I love the final conclusion to a trilogy. Like Return of the Jedi, Return of the King. Those type of movies that give you that anticipation as to wondering what's gonna happen. Because after when this movie's over with, that's it. This is where these characters are going towards. This is their ending line. We won't be seeing any more of these characters for some time. So it really does put me in a position of wondering as to where these characters are going to go to that we've known for so many years, and where they're going to end up, how are they going to become. And I love the epic climactic fight at the ending. It just pretty much closes the chapter to the whole entire story. It's a really great film. I had a lot of fun with it. Rotten Tomatoes, it went down even more or less than the Scorch Trials, which is at a 43%. And for me, I didn't enjoy this as much as the Scorch Trials, but I did like it a little bit more than the first Maze Runner film, which is at a 75%. So those are my ratings for the Maze Runner franchise. What do you guys think? You can always leave a comment in the section, and we can have an awesome conversation regarding towards this film or any film in particular that you guys would like to discuss with me. So I'm Awesome Joe, you guys, and I want to just go ahead and let you guys know to stay awesome. Alright guys, I'll see you guys on the next film, and thank you guys so much for having to take the timing to watching my videos. You guys are such a huge inspiration to me doing this really great personal hobby of mine. And I love to talk about movies, but more importantly, I love to talk about it with you. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.